Hey guys, I'm Urizi. This story is all about what if Naruto's body was possessed by the Nine Tails. The Kyuubi takes advantage of a unique opportunity and possesses Naruto's body. Can the demon cope with a mortal's body? What will happen when Naruto resurfaces? Before we proceed with the story, please like and subscribe to this channel if you liked the video, and don't forget to check the description for the other works of the author if you liked the story. Let's start. Chapter 23, Discovered. Just before the matches were to begin, Jiraiya and Ino returned, forcing the blonde boy to sit up from his prone position. Jiraiya sat on one side of Naruto/Kyuubi, and Ino sat on the other. The white-haired Chunin nursed a black eye, occasionally moaning about cruel women, while Ino smirked and sat quietly. A voice rang out over the loudspeakers. Yes, they have loudspeakers. At least in my FIC, they do. Welcome to the final round of the Chunin exams. Those who are participating should be ready, as your name could be called at any time. Those who are watching, please be aware that you are not allowed to directly influence any fight in any way. You may cheer, jeer, shout, and otherwise make a fool out of yourself, but you will refrain from throwing, kicking, or in any way moving any object into the arena, and you will also refrain from entering the arena yourself. Anyone seen violating these rules will be hunted down by Umbu and killed immediately. The crowd gasped. A bit of static sounded as voices in the background seemed to speak rapidly. Sorry, anyone violating the rules will be removed from the arena and not allowed to return. You will not be killed. Disregard the earlier statement. The crowd murmured uneasily. The first match will be Naruto against Sabaku no Tamari. Sarutobi smiled. The announcer had done it brilliantly. Last year, when only the threat of removal had been issued, the last match had been full of people throwing things, since they were about to leave anyway. Some people had even used that as a way of leaving the stadium more quickly. That had seriously compromised security, so this year, they had resolved to make things different. With any luck, they wouldn't have any problems this year. Naruto rolled his eyes. Just my luck that I'd be chosen to go first. And to fight against a woman, no less. So troublesome. Why don't I ever get to fight any men? The shadow user dropped into the arena, across from where Tamari was already waiting. A Chunin stood off on one side of the dirt stadium, apparently functioning as the examiner. Hajime. Tamari smirked, and swung her fan open. I heard this guy is smart, so I'll finish him quickly, before he can get some plan cooked up in that pineapple-shaped head of his. The Sand Nin swung her fan, sending a cutting gust of wind across the ground. Shikamaru jumped to the side and avoided the attack. He kept running until he reached some trees that grew on one side of the enclosed fighting area. Tamari sighed. His brilliant plan is to run away? Pathetic. I can't see him in there, but I can blast the trees into toothpicks and pick his body out. Shame to waste such a handsome. Tamari shook her head. She did not have time for such thoughts. Shikamaru, hidden from the sand kunoichi, dug underground. He began to carve a tunnel through the ground, toward the unsuspecting Tamari. So troublesome. But it's the easiest way that has a good chance of succeeding. Tamari flicked her wrist and sent a strong wind into the trees. Come out, little leaf. I know you're in there. Don't think you can just hide until I come in for close combat. Tamari knew that everyone knew her weakness at close combat. I can blast those trees all day. No response. Tamari frowned. This is supposed to be a fighting match, not a game of hide-and-go-seek. Tamari sent a forceful blast of air at a single tree, spraying leaves everywhere. If Shikamaru was in there, he was doing a good job hiding it. Meanwhile, Shikamaru stopped digging. Time for a little break. Digging is so troublesome. Tamari was growing more and more frustrated. She had hit every tree at least once, but apparently that lazy bum was hiding behind the tree trunks. Why do I always end up in situations like this? She wondered if she should go in a little closer. Shikamaru finished his tunnel. The dirt over the end of the tunnel was held up only by a few twigs. Once Tamari walks over to investigate, she'll fall in here. I can grab her fan and hide it while she's trying to get out, then I can fight her without her annoying wind powers. I saw how effective that fan is during Tenten's match, and I don't need to experience it personally. Shikamaru sat to wait. She would come eventually. Temari stared at the trees she had been blasting for the past half an hour. Maybe I overestimated this guy. Maybe he's too scared to come out, or maybe he's already unconscious or dead and he's just stuck in a tree branch. Temari sighed. It probably wasn't a good idea, but there was only one thing to do. She walked toward the trees to investigate. Suddenly, the ground underneath her gave way, and she fell into a pit. She screamed involuntarily as she dropped into the dark underground pit. She saw a dark shape move across the ground of the pit, then found that she could not move her body. Shadow imitation technique, success. Shikamaru looked at the girl pityingly. Too bad it has to end this way for her. He reached down and picked up the fan, which Temari had dropped. The sand nin imitated his movements, but had nothing to grab. Shikamaru raised the fan over his head. Temari imitated him. Then Shikamaru brought it down onto the kunoichi's head. It did not knock her out. So troublesome. Shikamaru beat her senseless, then carried her body back to the surface. The examiner rushed over, and seeing that Temari was unconscious, gave a sign to someone in the stands. The loudspeaker proclaimed, "Winner, Nara Shikamaru." Naruto/Kyuubi sat with amused look on their face. Attacking from underground, seemed to work pretty well. We should look into that sometime. The strange pair was interrupted by the loudspeakers. Next match, Yamanaka Ino vs. Uzumaki Naruto. The demon duo rolled their eyes. After the match with Lee, this would be a breeze. Ino winked at the blonde boy. Looks like it's you and me. Come on, Naruto. The Mind Walker pranced down into the stadium. Naruto/Kyuubi leaped into the air and landed in the arena, then leaped again to place themselves far on the opposite side from Ino. They turned to face her. Ino looked at the blonde boy. Why is he always so quiet? I remember when he used to be all hyper, back when I chased Sasuke just to spite Sakura. But then he got all quiet. And what could possibly have motivated him to study? He obviously was paying attention in class. I've heard of how good he is as a ninja, but why didn't he get better grades? How could he improve too quickly? Ino steeled herself for the coming fight. I have to end this soon, while he still underestimates me. There is no way I can fight against the sort of speed I saw him use in his match against Lee. But if I do it correctly, no one will ever call me weak again, after I beat someone on PAR with that crazy Rock Lee. The examiner made a sign to the announcer. The loudspeakers crackled to life again. Hajime. Naruto/Kyuubi jogged toward Ino at the start of the match. At least, it was jogging for them, thought everyone in the stadium who had not seen his first match thought he was sprinting as fast as he could possibly go. Weight training will do that for you. The demon duo conferred with one another. What do you think? Kick her in the stomach and uppercut her face when she doubles over? Could work. I personally like a flying high kick to send her across the arena, then leap into the air and body slam her. With the weights on, that could end the match right there. Yes, but don't we want to use this match for practice? Then again, she is a long ways from where we are. Exactly. Beating up a helpless genin is not going to improve our fighting skills. Suddenly they put on a burst of speed, blurred over to Ino and leaped in for the flying high kick. Ino sailed across the arena, skidding on the ground several times before coming to a stop a few yards from the wall. Naruto/Kyuubi jumped high into the air, aiming to land squarely on the blonde girl. Ino couldn't believe how fast Naruto had suddenly gotten. He was running so fast, then suddenly he appeared in front of me. Once she came to a stop, she opened her eyes, which she had reflexively closed when skidding across the dirt. He's above me. He's going to land on me with all those weights. There was not enough time to dodge, as hurt as she was after that kick. But as she saw Naruto fall, one last idea occurred to her. He can't change direction easily in midair. So I know where to aim. Ino formed several seals that were so familiar to her, and completed her trademark ninjutsu, mind-body transfer technique. Naruto/Kyuubi smirked to themselves as they fell. The girl would be too stunned from the kick to move out of the way in time, and there was not much that she could do, other than... Oh crap. Kyuubi. She using that technique. That mind control thing. Of course. Why didn't we think of that? We've got to move. They formed a shadow clone, and tried to use it to get away from the Yamanaka's famous technique, but could not move fast enough in midair to evade the blonde girl's aim. All their efforts succeeded only in averting their body from crushing the girl as they had intended. Instead, it landed just beside her, making a small crater in the ground, and sending a cloud of dust into the air. Wait, Naruto, I have an idea. Ino found herself in Naruto's mind. Yes. I did it. She quickly looked around for the metaphysical chair that represented control of the body. She was surprised when she could not see it. Wow, his mind is huge. How could his mind be similar to the sewers? And how could it possibly have so many passages? Ino wandered aimlessly through the dark corridors of Naruto's mind, until she came upon a small room. Aha! There's the chair. Now all I have to do is formally surrender as Naruto, then return to my own body. But when she stepped forward, she noticed that Naruto was not in the chair. Nor was there any sign of him anywhere around the chair. There was only a glowing orange mist that pooled in the chair, and trailed away and around a corner into a larger room. What? I just saw him in the outside world, and since time moves slowly in people's minds, there is no way he could have done some jutsu in the meantime to cancel my technique. But how could he have vanished? Ino whirled around when she heard a footstep. There stood Naruto, dressed in all black, looking at her. What? How can he be out of the chair? And looking at me? No one is supposed to be conscious within their mind. How can he be here? Ino was too stunned to even react when Naruto walked over and grabbed her wrist. Come over here, Ino. There's someone I want you to meet. Naruto's voice was mockingly cheerful, edged with sarcasm. He began pulling her toward the large room. What? How can you be here? No one is conscious within their own mind. No one. Ino tried to get away, but Naruto held her in a vice-like grip, which did not hurt, although she thought that it should have. Then it hit her. Wait, you want me to meet someone? You have someone else in here. Ino began crying hysterically, pulling desperately away from the dark ninja, but to no avail. As they rounded the corner, Ino saw a gigantic cage with enormous iron bars, and a sign on it, written in kanji. Death God Demon Seal. Ino looked around frantically for anything to help her escape, but the room was empty, except for the ominous cage. As they approached the bars, Ino noticed a vast shape on the other side. A huge, orange fox sat like a statue, looking off into the distance. It glowed softly with a sickly red-orange light. Ino noticed the trail of orange mist led to the fox's tail. Ino felt a strange calm come over her. Is this what it is like to accept death? Ino stared at the fox as Naruto led her up to the bars. It looks just like a person does when they are controlling the body normally in their chair. But there is no way that it could possibly control the body from in there, unless... Of course. That mist is its chakra, and it controls the body using the chakra. But, what is it? And why would Naruto let it control his body? This fox looks sort of familiar, like I've seen it in a dream, or a nightmare, or like I saw it in a picture once, long ago. They stopped in front of the bars of the cage. Naruto shouted, Hey, Kyuubi. You ready? Ino froze. Did he saw Kyuubi? As in the demon that terrorized Konoha almost 14 years ago? It was a giant creature, it was, a fox. But how can it be here? The yondaime gave his life to kill it. How could it suddenly appear in Naruto's mind? The fox suddenly jerked its head down to look at the two humans. You have her? Good. Throw her in here. We couldn't let her control you, and we certainly can't let her leave after seeing me, so there is only one possible solution. Ino began struggling violently, but Naruto's toned muscles vastly outmatched her small strength. She screamed, Leave me alone. You don't have to kill me. I won't tell anyone. Naruto threw her between the bars, which were spaced narrowly enough to prevent Kyuubi from getting out, but wide enough to allow humans to pass through easily. Ino screamed as Kyuubi lunged down, mouth open wide. Kyuubi lunged down and bit the foolish kunoichi in half. Or, at least he tried to. When he bit into the girl, he felt a slight resistance to his fangs, which shattered easily, releasing a meager bit of chakra, but when he tried to bite off his mouthful to devour her, he felt nothing. The demon fox looked down to see Ino, curled into the fetal position, still quivering in fear. Kyuubi bent down and attempted to bite her again. He felt nothing. What? How can you resist my power? Ino opened her eyes, and saw the giant fox standing overhead, looking at her quizzically. I'm alive. I'm still alive. But how? I saw him come down to bite me. Ino slowly got onto her feet. She began to walk back toward the bars of the cage, but jumped and shrieked when she saw one of Kyuubi's paws pass through her from behind. His paw went right through me. So, that means... Ino turned to face the demon lord. You can't touch me, can you? The fox growled and grimaced, but did nothing further. Ino ran out of the cage and toward the chair, leaving a very confused fox and a stunned Naruto behind. She quickly sat in the chair and focused past the mind, as she had been taught to. She found herself lying next to her own body. She stood up, but when she tried to speak, she suddenly felt herself jerked out of reality. Naruto threw Ino across the room of his mind. She landed in a heap over in the corner. He watched her while a trail of orange chakra collected in the chair once more. He watched over her while Kyuubi commanded the body, was declared victor, and leapt back into the seating area. Naruto walked over to the crying Ino that still sat against the wall in his mind. We have to ensure our safety. We have to ensure our safety. I can do this. Naruto monotoned, I'm sorry, Ino. We can't let you live. Ino looked up wildly, her red eyes blazing. You wouldn't. When she saw the neutral expression on his face, she knew that he was really going to kill her. She jumped to her feet. Naruto smashed her face with a bone-crushing punch, aiming to kill with a single blow. Ino recoiled from the punch, but felt no pain. She slapped the stunned Naruto across the face as hard as she could, but Naruto felt no pain. They stared at each other, each realizing from the looks of the other's face that they had not done any damage at all. Naruto spoke. Well, I guess we have to let you live. But we won't let you leave. Ino watched as Naruto walked over to the chair and sat on one side of it, taking only half control of the body, leaving Kyuubi with the other half. She heard faint, echoed voices speaking, which she had been told only happened in the minds of the insane. But after a moment, she recognized them as Naruto and Kyuubi. Although she could not make out most of what they said, she heard her name mentioned several times. Ino checked to see how much chakra she had left. She felt nothing. Feeling slightly panicky, she felt for even a shred of chakra. Nothing. Then she remembered the strange feeling she had gotten when Kyuubi bit her. She had lost all of her chakra. Ino started to cry again. She was stuck in a mind with a cold-hearted boy and a bloodthirsty demon. After several minutes, Ino heard Naruto get off the chair, another thing that was supposed to be impossible. She sat slumped in the same corner of Naruto's mind, feeling strangely heavy, since usually her technique made her feel extraordinarily light when she was in another's mind. She looked up to see Naruto staring down at her through the slit in his mask. Naruto turned away from her, seeming vaguely uncomfortable. I'm sorry it ended that way. We didn't expect you to use that technique of yours. Ino spoke softly. Naruto, I'm trapped in your mind. I lost all of my chakra when... She shuddered, he bit me. I can't leave. Naruto shifted uneasily. I'm sorry. We didn't mean for things to happen like this. I don't know what to do. Ino looked at Naruto's profile, difficult to see against the dark background of his mind. Why does he sound so nervous? He was trying to kill me not very long ago. Ino began to cry silently. What did I do to deserve this? While Naruto was otherwise occupied, Neji easily defeated Kankura, whose puppet could not move fast enough to chase the Hyuga prodigy. The next match was announced. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Sabaku no Gaara. The two ninja made their way to the arena, facing each other across the wide field. The examiner glanced at them, then signed to the announcer, who shouted, Hajime. Sasuke knew better than to try taijutsu. The sand that constantly surrounded the insomniac would simply bat him into a wall as it had done to Kiba. That left ninjutsu, since Sasuke was not particularly skilled at genjutsu. Sasuke formed several seals, and launched a large fireball at the stoic Sandnin. The sand blocked the fireball. Sasuke shot several smaller fireballs. They too were blocked by the absolute defense of sand. Sasuke frowned. How can I beat a guy if I cannot penetrate his sand? That's it. Penetrate the sand with the Chidori, then follow up when his defenses will hopefully have crumbled. Sasuke made 3 quick seals, then began charging his sensei's one original technique. The sound like a flock of small birds filled the arena, rising in pitch and volume as the Chidori acquired more and more energy. Sasuke charged at Gaara. As expected, the sand rose to defend him, but Sasuke thrust forward with the attack anyway. The Chidori pierced the sand like a hot knife trough butter, letting Sasuke's arm reach just far enough to touch the insomniac. Gaara looked down at his shoulder. The strange attack had struck him, causing him to bleed. Gaara gasped. Blood. My blood. Temari could see the attack pierce the shield of sand, and since she was positioned slightly behind Gaara, she could see the attack hit. She heard her little brother's surprised exclamation. Oh, crap. There goes the plan. Gaara's going to release Shukaku, and that Kabuto guy will have to start early, and that will make those sound people unhappy. Gaara's sand fell to the ground around him. Sasuke lunged forward to take advantage of the suddenly crumbling defense, punching his opponent in the face. Sasuke grimaced in pain and jumped away from the Sandnin, clutching his fist. That was like punching a rock. What is that guy made of? Sasuke looked up, and saw the small cracks that spread from where he had punched Gaara. What the he is made of rock? Or maybe sand? Sasuke suddenly focused on the sand, which had begun to move again. The sand rose into the air, slowly at first, then gaining speed as it formed a sphere around the crazed Sandnin. Sasuke saw his chance to attack. He quickly summoned his final Chidori, for it would be final, Kakashi having warned him to not attempt more than 2, and ran towards the sphere of sand. Just before he reached it, however, a giant, clawed hand shot out of the sand, crushing Sasuke in its clutches. Sasuke tried to wriggle free, but to no avail. The hand squeezed harder. Sasuke heard bones break, heard organs rupture. The hand suddenly clenched into a fist, splattering Sasuke all over the area with a sickening squish. The crowd screamed, and began to run out of the stadium, only to fall suddenly into sleep as Temari had predicted. The sand ball around Gaara moved to reveal his transformation into a half-human, half-sand creature. Seeing Konoha Jonin moving around the stadium, he leapt into the stands. Blood. You will pay for my blood with yours. Temari decided that the plan did not call for her to be anywhere near Gaara, and quickly left the stadium. Naruto/Kyuubi looked around, seeing people fall unconscious for no apparent reason. What is this? Some sort of genjutsu? Then why aren't we affected? It probably has something to do with me. We need to stop that Gaara guy. He'll kill everyone if we don't stop him. Why is that our concern? A loud crash sounded from across the village. Naruto/Kyuubi looked over the stadium walls to see 3 giant snakes crushing the village walls into dust. The village is under attack, and the more Konoha ninja we save, the less likely we are to die. Right. Let's do this, kid. But before they could move, a tall, blonde man appeared in front of them. What did you do to my daughter? Naruto/Kyuubi stared at the man in confusion. The village is under attack, mortal. Get out of my way. Inoishi frowned. I'll just have to do this the hard way. Since he obviously wouldn't know if Ino is still in his mind, I'll just look. Inoishi began to make seals for one of the Yamanaka family techniques, which would allow him to see into the boy's mind. Seeing the boy drop into a fighting stance, Inoishi said, Don't worry, I won't hurt you, yet. I just need to see what happened to my daughter. Naruto/Kyuubi hesitated. In that moment, Inoishi completed the technique, and looked into Naruto's mind. He saw Naruto, as expected, but the boy was sitting over on one side of the chair, the other side being filled with an orange mist that led to the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi has control over Naruto's body. The rumor I heard was true. Naruto is really influenced by the demon to the point of possession. Then Inoishi saw Ino, slumped against a wall in the dank corridors of Naruto's mind, crying. What? Why is she over there? Looking closer, Inoishi saw the telltale signs of the one condition that could not be fixed. Ino was out of chakra, and trapped in the Kyuubi brat's mind. Inoishi pulled back out, since he could not speak to his daughter using that technique. In the few moments of the technique, Naruto/Kyuubi had decided that they didn't want the man who seemed to be Ino's father using any technique on them, unaware that Inoishi had already learned too much. Yamanaka-san, there are more pressing matters to attend to, Naruto/Kyuubi said in an overly formal fashion, hoping to placate the man for now. Suddenly they saw the man's eyes bug out. Demon. The demon has possessed him. The blonde man took off at an impressive speed. The demon and boy were about to continue towards the maddened Gaara, who was currently fighting over a dozen Konoha ninja, when it finally sank in. He knows. He's going to tell the others. Kill him. Quickly. Hurry. He's getting away. They ran after Ino's father at top speed. An unfortunate Soundnin tried to stop them, only to be struck in the eyes with a pair of kunai. He howled in agony, blind to the black blur that rushed past him. Inoishi ran as fast as he could. Not only did he need to outrun the demon, he needed to tell the Hokage at once. Where is the Hokage? He isn't in the box seats, but I can't stop to look. Maybe he's fighting outside the stadium. Inoishi ran out of the stadium, fully aware of the pair of blood-red eyes that glared at him from behind, quickly making up for the blonde man's head start. Chapter 24, The Last Stand. Naruto/Kyuubi ran after Inoishi. There is no way we can let him get away. He knows. Somehow, he knows. Then drop the stupid weights. They quickly dropped their weights as they ran, but before they could take advantage of their new speed, a pair of ninja appeared in front of him, faces hidden under wide-brimmed hats, and bodies hidden by long, black cloaks with designs of red clouds painted on. Naruto/Kyuubi stopped dead in their tracks. Even at several feet away, they could feel the power that these men possessed. The shorter man looked up, his red eyes seeming to glow from underneath the hat. Naruto-kun, come with us. Get out of my way. I need to stop that man. Naruto/Kyuubi tried to move around them, but the taller man stepped in front of him, looking up to reveal his blue face with gill markings on the cheeks. There is no longer any need to hide your true identity. Our organization wishes you to come with us for that very reason. The blonde boy snarled. You want us for our power? Do you think we are stupid? You don't want our help. Ninja of your caliber could only be seeking to gain power, not to gain people. You don't need help. The red-eyed man smirked. Then I guess there is no reason to prolong this conversation. Kisame, if you would, please. Of course, Itachi. Should I remove one or both of his legs? Seeing that the time of hiding was over, Kyuubi released a bit of demonic chakra, causing his eyes to turn blood red, and his pupils to lengthen into slits. His whisker markings lengthened and thickened, and his canine teeth grew slightly longer. An orange aura surrounded him. You won't be removing anything. Die, mortal. Naruto/Kyuubi leaped at Kisame with a blinding speed, aiming to rake his claws across the man's face. Kisame dodged, and swatted Naruto away with a large, long object that was covered in bandages. Naruto/Kyuubi flipped and landed on his feet, then released even more chakra, forming the armor of demonic chakra. Kyuubi focused more chakra into healing Naruto's body, which had begun to bleed slightly from the amount of chaotic chakra flowing through it. The blonde leaped into the air. Kisame prepared for the boy to land, drawing his weapon back for another swing, but suddenly a large hand of fiery chakra reached down and grabbed him. Kisame grunted in pain as he burned in the heat of demonic chakra, before twisting free of the hand's grasp. That's enough. Come with us, Kisame commanded, then unwrapped his weapon, revealing a long, jagged sword, which immediately began sucking in Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto/Kyuubi released even more chakra, trying to counteract the sword's power. The sword appeared to be a black hole, sucking in a vast amount of destructive chakra. Winds whipped around Kisame from the large amount of chakra moving through the air. The blue man waited patiently. Eventually, the boy would realize the futility of trying to use that chakra with an uncovered Samehada nearby. Naruto/Kyuubi pumped more and more chakra out, snickering when he saw the sword begin to glow orange. Kisame stared at the boy, unaware of his sword's change. In a few seconds, the sword began to shine with an orange light. Kisame looked down at the sword, wondering what it could possibly be doing. Then Samehada exploded into shrapnel, shards of it flying in all directions, flames of demonic chakra released into the air. Kisame, now a pincushion for what was once his sword, gestured for Itachi to capture the boy. Naruto/Kyuubi, now freed from the power of Samehada, were engulfed in a massive storm of demonic chakra due to the amount of it they had been using to counter the sword. They formed a giant, clawed hand out of the chakra, and pulled it back to strike. Itachi flickered and appeared behind them, moving at a speed that would put Rock Lee to shame. The demon duo, failing to see the red-eyed ninja, attacked the injured Kisame instead. Kisame, who had assumed that the boy would be busy with Itachi, never saw it coming. The hand enveloped the shark man in a crushing grip, channeling an enormous amount of chakra. Kisame writhed and struggled in vain, his blood beginning to boil in his veins. Itachi, deciding that he should probably save his partner, threw a kunai at the back of Naruto/Kyuubi's head. It was deflected by the demonic chakra. Frowning, Itachi instead blew a large fireball at the boy. It was deflected by the demonic chakra. Itachi caused a wave of water to crash toward the boy. The water turned to steam as it approached Naruto/Kyuubi, who was therefore never even touched by the wave. Itachi sent a clone to attack the boy. It poofed out of existence upon coming closer than 10 feet from the boy, because of the raging inferno of demonic chakra. Naruto/Kyuubi dropped Kisame's charred body to the ground, and turned to face Itachi. The blonde looked into Itachi's eyes. Itachi looked right back, and decided that it was time to end the fight. Suddenly, Naruto was strapped to a large, wooden cross, on a dirt plain, underneath a red sky. Itachi stood in front of him, holding a short katana. The Nukenin smirked slightly. Overconfident Jinchuriki were so predictable, and although he had never used the Tsukiyomi SP on one before, it would make this much easier, since he was going to have to carry Kisame for a while. But just before Itachi began his customary speech, he sensed a presence behind him. He looked back, and saw a very large, very annoyed Kyuubi no Kitsune. Itachi frowned. Perhaps this was why the leader had suggested that Itachi refrain from using this ability on demon hosts. Itachi jumped out of the way as a large paw smashed the ground where he had just been, barely missing Naruto. Itachi sighed. Although he was certainly not the Yondame's equal, this was his genjutsu, and he created the rules for this world. And now the rules stated that Kyuubi would be covered in chains that were immune to demonic chakra, and prevented the one they held from using that chakra. Suddenly, Kyuubi was covered in chains. Kyuubi snarled, and snapped the chains with a harsh jerk. Itachi modified his decision. Kyuubi would be covered in unbreakable chains that were immune to demonic chakra and prevented the one they held from using that chakra. Kyuubi was covered in chains again. The demon growled, and thrashed about, shaking the genjutsu world with his struggles. Itachi smirked. Now, as for the boy. Kyuubi snapped the chains with a loud crack. Itachi stared wide-eyed at the demon, who was now engulfed in flames of demonic chakra. Itachi jumped backwards, barely avoiding the giant paw that crushed the ground into dust. Itachi began jogging backwards, his mind racing to think of a way to defeat the nine-tailed fox. Suddenly, Itachi felt uncharacteristically clumsy when he tripped over something, falling onto his back. He quickly got up and continued jogging backward at an increased rate. Jogging at his own speed, of course, which was fast enough to stay away from the angry demon that was chasing him. As he ran, he looked back to see what marred the usually smooth surface of his genjutsu world. Itachi saw Kyuubi race past a young girl, dressed in purple, with long blonde hair. The girl, Ino, began to get up, startled by the sudden disturbance. Itachi raised an eyebrow as he ran. How many entities did Naruto have in his mind? Ino slowly got to her feet, not recognizing her surroundings. This isn't Naruto's mind, is it? It looks too different. Ino looked to the one side, where she heard a lot of noise. There, she saw the large demon fox, running free, after a small man. Ino ran in the other direction, away from the fox. Soon, the fox was out of sight, and she slowed to a jog, unsure of where she was going, but with the vague feeling that she needed to keep moving. In a short time, she saw Naruto, chained to a wooden cross. She slowed down and approached him. Naruto. The boy looked up. Ino? How did you get here? I don't know. I just woke up here. How did we get here? And where is here? I don't know how we got here. That guy just looked at us, and then we were here, and I was tied up. And I don't know where here is. Hey, if it's not too much trouble, could you let me down from here? Ino glared at him. You get me stuck in your mind with a giant demon, forever cut off from the world, then somehow teleport me to some weird place with a red sky, and you have the nerve to ask for my help. Yes. Ino snorted. It seemed that Naruto still retained some measure of his sense of humor from long ago. Ino undid the chains, allowing Naruto to drop to the ground. Thanks, Ino. Don't thank me. Get us out of here. Naruto looked around. Well, I would guess that to do that, we would need some help from the guy who got us here. Or maybe this is some trick, like a genjutsu, and killing him would dispel it. Or maybe it will wear off after a while. But at any rate, Kyuubi is chasing that guy, so wait. Here they come again. Far off, towards the horizon, they saw the large silhouette of the Kyuubi, hardly visible against the red sky, running towards them. As it got closer, they saw the small man at its feet, his cloak appearing slightly singed in places. Kyuubi shot another jet of demon fire at the small Chunin, who easily dodged it as he ran. Ino squeaked and hid behind Naruto. Even she could feel the power that this man wielded. Naruto stepped forward and made 50 shadow clones. Ino watched as the man looked at the clones, then looked back at the fox that was chasing him. The man made a seal, and the world became dark. Ino found herself back in Naruto's mind, on the floor where she had been before. She saw Naruto on the chair, sitting lopsidedly as he shared it with a portion of the orange mist. It looks like I'm back in Naruto's mind. Strangely, this was a comforting thought after seeing the strange land that she had just left. Ino saw Naruto's face clench in concentration, even in his mind. What was going on out there? Ino heard a quiet cracking sound, and looked behind her. A small crack appeared on the stone wall behind her. She listened silently, and heard several more cracking sounds, coming from all over Naruto's mind. Ino frowned. What's going on? Why are the walls breaking? Naruto/Kyuubi lunged at Itachi, not really surprised when the quick man evaded his grasp. They spun around to keep Itachi in view, and flung out a hand of chakra to grab him. They needed to finish this fight quickly, since they could already feel their body deteriorating from the amount of demonic chakra flowing through it. Itachi dodged the hand, then kept moving as the hand followed him down the streets of Konoha. Itachi finally turned around, made a quick seal. He appeared to flicker, but then formed several more seals and blew black flames at the giant hand, now stretched over 50 feet from Naruto. The flames had no effect on the hand, which quickly closed over the black and red cloak. A sudden explosion blew the hand into nothingness, and the real Itachi leapt to attack the blonde boy from behind, holding a poisoned kunai. Naruto/Kyuubi frowned when their hand was dispelled by the explosion. What was that? Where did he go? Behind us. Itachi was upon them too quickly for them to react. He raised the kunai high, and plunged it into Naruto's back, the poison quickly subduing the demon host, allowing Itachi an easy victory. At least, that was Itachi's plan. Itachi stabbed the kunai toward Naruto's back, only to have it repelled by the armor of chakra. Itachi grimaced as his hand was scorched by the Kyuubi's poisonous chakra. As he felt the poison enter his veins, he realized that Kisame was most likely already dead. Itachi frowned. This was supposed to be an easy catch, a quick genin napping. Itachi leaped back to avoid a large blast of chakra that sprang from the boy's back. This genin is very skilled with his demonic chakra. I wonder if he has used it often, or if he being controlled by the demon. Suddenly, Itachi saw the boy form a seal. 100 shadow clones appeared, each made of the demon's burning chakra. Several clones jumped at Itachi, while the rest moved to surround him. Itachi blew black flames at the clones, only to find that this was being blocked by a slight armor that covered each of the clones. One clone vanished as the flames pierced his armor, but the rest lashed out at Itachi as they came within range, using demonic claws to slash, or vicious fangs to try and bite. Itachi blocked a slash with his arm, preventing it from reaching his neck. The claws dug into his arm, severing arteries, and poisoning his blood with even more demon chakra. Itachi whirled and blocked and stabbed, but every clone that he dispatched was replaced by 2 from the sidelines. Suddenly, Itachi saw the clones around him freeze for a mere moment, and he quickly stabbed each of them with a kunai, instantly dispelling them. Itachi turned to face where he had last seen the original demon boy. Itachi's eyes grew wide as he saw a giant sphere of demonic energy sizzling through the air, straight at him. There was no chance of evading the mountain-sized fireball, which tore and incinerated the ground underneath it, as well as any houses, shops, or other material things that it encountered as it flew toward the Chunin. Itachi deactivated his Sharingan, looking at the world with his true vision one last time, before the crackling ball of destruction overtook him, instantly annihilating any trace of his existence. The large group of Sound Nin cheered when it saw the Konoha ninjas facing it suddenly panic and flee. There was nothing more terrifying than the elite ninjas of the Sound. Obviously, those stupid leaf nins. Several Sound Nins turned around as they heard a crackling sound from behind them. They had just enough time to gape in horror, before they were engulfed in the massive inferno of Kyuubi's chakra. Inside the Sound Force barrier, Sarutobi struggled to pull out Orochimaru's soul, trying to stay alive long enough to see the Snake Nin's demise. Orochimaru pulled back with all his might. He was not going to let this old man win. This was supposed to be easy, but the geezer just had to prevent the summoning of the fourth, didn't he? Suddenly, Orochimaru noticed a sudden lack of effort from the third Hokage. "What's the matter, old man? Getting tired?" Sarutobi smiled sadly. "It was nice to see you again, Orochimaru, although I wish it were under different circumstances." Orochimaru raised an eyebrow. Was the old man getting so senile as to be distracted from the fight so easily? Orochimaru felt his soul slowly returning to his body. The Sandaime spoke again. "The barrier that your servants have created works by reflecting any physical material, and is enhanced by its ability to set that material on fire. That keeps almost all attacks from penetrating its walls. You were lucky that no one figured out that fire would pass right through it. But now it is my turn to be lucky. I had already planned to die today, but now I can be certain that you will follow me to the afterlife. Once your body is destroyed, you and I have an appointment with Shinigami." Orochimaru frowned. "What do you have up your sleeve, old dash?" Orochimaru looked back when he heard a loud sizzling sound. His eyes widened in sudden realization of his death, just before he was utterly destroyed by the titanic sphere of evil chakra that passed through the barrier like it was not even there. The Sound Four perished with him, as well as most of those who had been watching the battle. Ino was getting worried. It was weird enough when the orange mist that must have been the demon's chakra had suddenly flown out of the cage and filled almost all of Naruto's mind. But now the stonework of Naruto's mind was falling apart. Bits of rock fell from the ceiling constantly, and cracks spread rapidly across every stone on the walls, ceiling, and floor. "What is going on?" Naruto/Kyuubi panted for breath. That had taken a lot of chakra, and Naruto's body was not used to channeling anywhere near that much. They could both feel the demonic chakra tearing their body apart, and knew that they needed to stop soon, but then Inoishi had returned with a small army of leaf ninjas, ready to stop the reincarnation of Kyuubi. Naruto/Kyuubi flung another small fireball at a group of leaf nin, scattering them. Kunai fell on him like water in a rainstorm, bouncing harmlessly off the armor of chakra. Although using enough chakra to make the armor caused harm to their body, it prevented anything else from harming it, as far as they could tell. But by now, even the deterioration from the armor was wearing them down, and soon they would reach the point of no return, the point at which they must either drop the armor and cease using demonic chakra, or die. Naruto/Kyuubi could not afford to drop their armor in this hailstorm of kunai, and even if they could, the sheer number of enemies would still compel them to keep it up. Blood poured from long gashes that the chakra tore in their skin, and every breath brought with it another spattering of blood. The demon duo raged, flinging fireballs in every direction, but there were too many to aim at, and very few Leafnin were even threatened by the attack. Naruto/Kyuubi could feel their limit approaching, and the number of Leafnin grew as others finished fights elsewhere in the village. "Kit, we need to get out of here. There is no way we are going to defeat so many and live. But once we stop using your chakra, these injuries will prevent us from running fast enough to get away from all of these ninja. Then, shall we take as many as we can with us to Shinigami?" "Indeed. Then, Kit, I can handle that. It will be easier if I do this alone, since this will involve almost entirely my chakra. Why don't you go tell that woman what is going to happen?" "All right." Naruto relinquished command of his body, one last time, disappearing into his mind. Kyuubi faced the crowd of ninjas, and realized that he would die today. But then, so would almost all of these ninja who stood against him. For some reason, Kyuubi found that the idea of death was not repulsive to him. In fact, Kyuubi was almost looking forward to a time when he would not have to worry about so many things, when he could just relax into the nothingness of death. But first, Kyuubi unleashed the full extent of his chakra, breaking any barriers that the body might have to this amount of chakra passing through it. Kyuubi would have about 10 seconds to wreak his vengeance, and he intended to use every last moment of it. A giant, nine-tailed fox appeared one final time in Konoha, towering above the tallest buildings. Naruto stepped down from the chair. Looking around, he saw Ino, who was watching the interior of his mind collapse. Naruto walked over to her. "Ino." The girl whirled around at the sound of her name. "Naruto. What is going on? Why is your mind falling apart?" Suddenly they heard a loud sound, similar to a strong wind. Naruto's mind began to fall apart even more rapidly. Huge chunks of stone fell from the ceiling, and tumbled down from the walls. Chakra flowed like water from Kyuubi's cage, all going to the chair as it was used by Kyuubi in his final moments. "I'm sorry for everything that happened to you, Ino. My mind is dying. I am dying. Using Kyuubi's chakra hurts my body, and we cannot stop using it because of all the enemies out there. So Kyuubi is going to use as much chakra as he can, and try and take as many of them down with us as possible. I don't know what will happen to you when I die. I am almost certain that Kyuubi will follow me to Shinigami, but I have no idea what will happen to you." Ino gasped. "You're dying." Naruto nodded, pulling off his mask. His blonde hair sprang back to its usual spiky form. "Aren't you even a little bothered by the thought of dying?" Ino asked. Naruto looked thoughtful. "I have waited for death since my first sensei died. I thought I had died then, but as it turned out, I just ended up here somehow. I found out about Kyuubi, and we worked together after that. But really, there isn't anything here for me. If I can't defend myself against other ninja, then I may as well die, and be at peace at last." Ino frowned. "Naruto, I was just getting used to living here in your head, and now you're telling me that you're going to die," in the same voice that someone would talk about the weather. "What do you expect me to do?" "I don't know, but I thought that you deserved to know what was going on. I will be gone very soon, and so it is only polite to say goodbye, don't you think?" Naruto gave a half-hearted smile. Ino suddenly burst into tears. "I just got to know you, but I don't want you to die, Naruto. Isn't there anything you can do? Can't you run away? Can't you hide?" Naruto shook his head slowly, his face wearing a troubled expression. "We are too injured to escape without using Kyuubi's chakra, and using it would not get away fast enough to be able to stop using it and survive. That is why Kyuubi is out there fighting." Ino flung her arms around Naruto's neck, and cried into his shoulder. Naruto, not knowing what else to do or say, put his arms around her, and held her tightly. Kyuubi stood tall in Konoha, rearing to his former height. He howled loudly, and released a shockwave of demonic chakra, flattening nearby buildings, and knocking ninja back several blocks. Kyuubi looked down on the town and belched fire on the small, pathetic ninja. Flaming ninja screamed in pain and agony, writhing on the ground, or stumbling blindly around. Kyuubi swept one paw along the ground, crushing several ninja into the wall of a house. The demon felt a presence behind him, and turned to see Shukaku, the giant sand badger, running to attack, his lust for blood apparently overpowering his good sense. Kyuubi growled, and opened his jaws wide, shooting a huge jet of flame at the sand demon. Shukaku began to fall as his legs were turned into glass. Kyuubi ignored the feeling of impending death, and the knowledge that his body was about to burn out. He concentrated his chakra, and then released his favorite technique, one that he had used long ago, when there was an even larger army of ninja around him. All of the air within several hundred feet of the demon caught fire. Almost the entire army was caught within the massive inferno. Those inside did not even have the time to scream before being incinerated. Then all of Konoha heard a sad, despairing howl, and the fire dissipated, revealing a single flaming body hanging in midair. The flaming corpse of Uzumaki Naruto fell to the ground, where it continued to burn to ashes, and was blown away in the wind. Inoishi could not believe it. He had actually fought a demon and lived. It had turned out to be fortunate that Inoishi had been caught in midair by the demon's first attack. The shockwave had sent him flying away from the creature, and he had landed on a house's roof, crashed through that, and landed on a couch. He had been stunned just long enough that when he had returned to the fighting, he had only enough time to get out to the roof, see final technique, and watch the demon boy flame out of existence. Then Inoishi remembered. His daughter had been trapped in the demon's mind, so now that the demon was gone, she should have returned to her own body. That was what happened with that particular technique, although few who used the technique knew that, since it was extremely rare to become trapped in someone's mind. Inoishi had only read on one instance of when that had occurred. Inoishi raced to the hospital. Ino felt sore all over. What happened? I was in Naruto's mind, then he sort of faded away, everything caught on fire, and the cage had glowed with a blinding light. Now I feel sore, and heavy. Ino opened her eyes, and looked around herself. She was in a hospital room. The door burst open, and Inoishi ran into the room. Seeing his daughter awake, he hugged her tightly. Don't worry, Ino. Everything will be alright. The demon is dead. He's gone. He can't hurt you ever again. Ino began to cry, but not for the reason her father imagined. Kyuubi felt a strange, floating sensation as he left the body. For all of his life, he had feared death above all other things, but now that the day had arrived, he felt at peace. Goodbye, kid. Kyuubi heard a weak reply. Goodbye. Kyuubi. Then everything was dark. That's it for part 5. Thank you for watching and see you on the next video.